Deadzone, we've got quite a lot planned for Deadzone next year. Now, I know one of the things is the 2-player starter set has been out of stock quite a lot this year, which is brilliant because it shows that people are playing it, which is fantastic, and people want to get into it. So I realise the 2-player starter set is out of stock at the minute, but what we will be doing is we're working on getting that back in stock relatively soon. So if you are waiting to get into it, it won't be that long to wait. I mean, obviously the rules are free, so if you want to try it out. Now, one of the problems has been that we've had no mats, neoprene mats, which has been a bit of a bummer because obviously you need something with the cubes on. But I am pleased to give you a sneak peek. Well, yeah, a sneak peek of the new neoprene mat. So hopefully you can see this. So
I've got some updates on it.
We've kind of taken the original one and given it a bit of a makeover. So you can see it's a bit more detailed, more blood on it, basically.
No, we need more blood.
To make it a bit more, yeah, so someone says a bit more textured. So this, we've got those in stock. We should have those in stock pretty soon, actually. Okay. Maybe hopefully this year. So they'll be on the website. But yeah, that is a really nice mat. And so that's the first thing that's coming out. And that will be hopefully out fairly soon. And then we'll kind of, with that, we'll be able to look at what we do with the 2-player starter set as well. So if you are waiting for a new starter set, don't worry, it won't be too long. And like I said, now with the mat, at least you can buy that and then get some command dice and get the rules from the website as well. I mean, all you really need at the minute is you need a copy of Escalation and the free rules. So if you want to do that, you can do. So Justin Gregory says, will you expand on the solo side of the game? Nexus I was great, but needs solo rules for all factions. Yeah, I think that's something, particularly obviously at the minute, that's been a problem. Not a problem. Problem getting out and playing with people, because obviously of COVID. So I think solo rules is something we definitely want to look at and see what we can do. There was a miniature war games solo mode, actually, which we might be able to put out now. So that included some slightly stronger zombies. So we could do that. Also, Brad P says restocking faction starters. Yeah, I mean, I think we were out of stock of quite a few of them, and we're just looking at what we can do to restock them. Any more funky resin tokens coming out again? I'd love to upgrade my Carbo ones to something more tactile and delicious. Yeah, so we've been looking at the best way to do the tokens and which ones to include. Because obviously now you've got things like Tag, Triclinic Shard for the Nameless. God, I got my mouth around that one. So, yeah, I think we'll probably look at what we can do with those as well. So it won't all be immediate, but hopefully we'll look at doing those in the future. So now let's get on to some miniatures. One of the things we've done at the minute is we've been looking at this idea of sub-factions. So we started that with the Vault Chasers and the Alpha Strike team for the Rebs. And the idea with these is that and then we went on with the Matsudan for the Asterians. Yes. So what we did with those is we kind of looked at what we thought would be potentially a cool faction to run of their own. So Matsudan, just with those. But we also wanted to look at ones that could be combined with everything else. And with next year's releases, we decided that maybe the Forge Fathers should get their own sub-faction.
Really?
So let's have a look at me. So get rid of me. Goodbye.
Forge Fathers.
And here we go. So the sub-faction that we are doing for the Forge Fathers are the Artificers. Okay. So if you've played Star Saga, you'll know that you've got Ogan Hellcare, who is an Artificer. So they're like the engineers. And what we want to do with these is the Artificers are kind of the guys that accompany the Brockers onto the planet to help them when they're smashing stuff up. So we will be doing a brand new kind of sub-faction starter for these in the new year. And the idea is with these ones is obviously, 2 weapons isn't enough. So now they've got a kind of backpack with an additional arm on, just like you saw with Ogan Hellcare. So that's one of the artificers. There will be in resin too. And the backpack on their back, you'll be able to do the different arms on them as well. So you can customize the arms. So that's one of the artificers. I've got to get my teeth in. Here's another one.
Oh, nice.
And we're currently doing the stats for these at the moment. But yeah, these are really cool. And I think one of the things we really wanted to do with these is, Steel Warriors are super duper cool, but I think sometimes you can't actually tell there is a dwarf inside there. So we wanted to make sure these ones, you've got the face, you've got the beard, and you can really, really tell that these are space dwarfs, basically. And also, I think the current plan is we will be doing some additional heads. So if you wanted to put some different heads on your Steel Warriors to make them fit in with these guys, then you can do that as well. So I think I'm really, really excited about the Artificers, actually. I think they'll add a lot of character to the Forge Fathers as well. So there we go. I think if I remember rightly, there are 3 different bodies and then a range of different heads and obviously the arms as well. So you can customize them.
Those are some sweet looking dwarves. In
different ways. Tabletop Transformer says, will you be selling the mining robots separately? It's certainly something we can maybe look at for the website. We can sometimes do that. It just depends sometimes what they're bagged with, because we may not be able to, if we bag them out, then we might not be able to, split them up. So Damo says, Marauders, so Space Orcs redesign new faction in the future. So nothing to announce yet for that one. I mean, come on, you're getting the cool Artificers. We're always looking at what we want to do and which things we want to look at. So that is what we're concentrating on at the minute is the Artificers. But that's not all for these ones as well. Let's have a look what else is coming up. So this is currently the unnamed MECH, the Artificer MECH.
Rob,
but this is roughly slightly smaller than a standard Iron Ancestor. And it will come with weapon options as well. So again, the idea is these are like mining weapons, engineering weapons. So there is obviously one of the Artificers driving it. So you can have a bit of a closer look there.
Oh, I'm a fan of that one.
But a bit like we did with the stunt bot, there will be different weapon options so you can put it together. Chris says, will it be much of a bear as a strider to put together? No, so this will be in resin as well. And normally these are fairly simple to put together. You probably would be able to magnetize the arms as well. One interesting thing is that, if I go back to the other picture, so where you can see the weapons like the hammer and I think that's a mining laser on the left, what you can do is actually, it's the head of the weapons that is interchangeable. So it doesn't matter if it's left or right. You can basically change, do whatever combination of weapons as you want, which is quite cool because it gives you that freedom. Paulie says, will there be a canopy so he doesn't get shot in the face? Yeah, there is an alternate version with a kind of front on if you wanted to do that. But in my opinion, I think this one's loads cooler because you can actually see that the Forge Father is driving it. So I think this is going to be really, really cool. And this will be coming out alongside a new kind of sub-faction starter for the Forge Fathers.
Guess I'm playing Forge Fathers.
And then finally, just one little thing, as if I haven't spoilt you all enough, is this. So if you've been following Kings of War, you'll know that a lot of the VEER-MYN models have ended up going into Kings of War. Well, if you tune in later to the Kings of War and the Vanguard chat, you'll find out that there's plenty more coming up for the Ratkin. So what we will be doing is, for the first time, things will be coming the other way. So new Ratkin models, if they fit, will be getting their own entry in the VEER-MYN lists. Okay. So we're currently looking through to see which ones we think would make sense. But then you've got this one here. So this is the Master Scurrier in the Ratkin list, but this looks perfect for Deadzone. The tech is kind of very much in line with the existing VEER-MYN tech, and it'd be nice that Deadzone gets some of the love.
Yeah, Star Saga Merc too.
Got a question here. Say, any plan to make the metal upgrades items or metal units in the new resin, the Strider Heavy? Yes. So I think one of the ideas is that some of the heavy weapons that are currently in metal,
that burst labor is heavy,
will kind of move into resin. Tabletop Transformer says, so possibly a new update book. I think we're looking what we want to do next year with Deadzone. Escalation, I think, puts the game in. Escalation puts the game in a really good place. Actually, I think there's, it's pretty well balanced. I think the problem we've had this year is keeping the 2-player starter set in stock, just because it's been super popular, which is great, but obviously it causes us a slight headache in that sense. Yeah, I think what we want to do is add lots of things. Ideally, it would be great to add something to each faction eventually. I don't think they'll all get sub-factions. I think a lot of them have got enough now. Mark Wheeler says, updated rulebook for Deadzone. Yeah, I think that is, I think we're looking at all the options for what we do with Deadzone, particularly now the 2-player set's out of stock. But it will be coming back into stock soon. We've got new scenery ideas for the future. I mean, I don't know if anyone would want Terrain Crate Sci-Fi, but
no.
Who knows? We'll have to see what happens with that one. Plague subfactions, possibly. I mean, we're looking at what we do with things like the Maison Labs, what direction we take those into as well.
Maison.
But I think there's loads of stuff we really want to do with Deadzone. I think Escalation and Outbreak have proved super popular and shows that a lot of people are still playing the game. And I think also things like the new subfactions is a nice way to add a bunch of miniatures to the game without necessarily adding a new faction. Andrew Wajansky says, how about an Arda faction? I don't know. They'd have to go with the Rebs, I would think. I mean, what Resin Murderbirds, says Steve. Yeah, I think Murderbirds are a murder to make in metal, which is why we haven't been able to keep them in stock. But I think we will look at kind of ones that are difficult in metal to look at those, maybe in resin, something like the Plague Bursters, possibly. Yeah, we could.
The bursters are so.
We could
heavy.
look at those and do those in the future as well. Resin bursters. Yeah. So Zeus says any Hellboy stuff at any time today. So that might be covered in Ronnie's one later on. So Ronnie is kind of doing a general Q&A at 4 later today. So should we have a look? I'll tell you what. Before I go, or before I start this one, let's go and have a look back through at some of those, some of the ones we've done. So let's get rid of me, and then we'll have a look at. So we'll go back through, and just in case anyone's missed the streams or is only tuning in.
No, you can just stick
so
right
we've
on.
got
Right
these are the new support assistants for Dreadball. So we've got Flurple. here, which is a hydrator.
I see Flurple, and all I can think of
We've
is
got
John.
Bracer, the mechanic. So as we've kind of talked about, is looking at maybe putting some of these in Deadzone. I think Bracer would certainly fit, possibly the Rebs, maybe even with the GCPS.
Man, if they made Bracer just a little bit smaller.
Flurple, I don't know who it would fit with. I mean, it would be amusing to put him with the GCPS, that he kind of accompanies them on the sidelines. Hopefully, Andy Sharp from the RC is listening to this and is putting his head in his hand. So Bracer, the mechanic. We've got head coach. I have no idea where head coach would fit into anything apart from Dreadball. Guess he could be a bizarre mercenary. So Andy Sharp is weight of fire. He's shouting never thought of putting these in the game.
Head coach
maybe
my
head coach would be a bit of an odd one.
Double Goblin as a leader.
Thoth, obviously, that's a new ref bot, an alternate ref bot when you're playing in the Las Vegas gambling arena. But you can also use Thoth as an MVP guard, which will be, I think that'll be a really interesting one, actually. I'm not sure how much MVPs really get used at the moment in Dreadball. So, like I was saying earlier, when we look at a theme of a different book, whether MVPs could be looked at, whether we, do like an all-star MVP team, something like that. So we could look at doing some of those in the future. So that's all the Dreadball releases. So just in case you missed it earlier on, that will come. These miniatures will come along with a rule book and some tokens, like a supplement rather, as part of the new. I think the current work in progress name is Galactic Tour Magnetar circuit. So that'd be really interesting. Tabletop Transformers says an MVP wrestling game. I think that'd be too crazy. I think they none of them want to get damaged. Justin says, is there going to be anything Star Saga? So not at the minute. I mean, what we could do is looking at, we've talked about maybe doing like digital missions, that sort of thing. Maybe where you could do something like buy a faction starter for Deadzone. So you might be able to buy, say, like the Marauder faction starter. And then you could use that as like a kind of a mission or something. So yeah, maybe something like that. Chris says, so he was put off by Dreadball previously because he thought it was going to get discontinued. Well, it's definitely not. I mean, Dreadball continues to be very popular. We had like an online tournament this year. There are kind of obviously people are using Tabletop Simulator and Vassal to play.
Sure.
And there's a lot of players of Dreadball out there. There's maybe not as many tournaments. We'd had a tournament here at the at HQ, which unfortunately got cancelled, which was a shame. But that had 30 players signed up, and we had a waiting list. So that would have been great. I was really looking forward to that one, and that kind of unfortunately had to be binned. But I think it shows that there's plenty of people out there playing.
Oh yeah,
and hopefully next year, if we can get together and actually play again, then I'd like to do another
but Dreadball is
UK national tournament over here.
Arena.
So Nicholas says, any news on the firefight replacement? So no news at the moment. I think Ronnie's previously said we are looking at doing that, but I think what we want to make sure we do is that if we come out with anything new for firefight, that it hits the ground running, basically, that it's as balanced and as cool as possible. Nate's Miniature says, did I miss out on any Deadzone news? No, I will just go through those again as well. So here's the Deadzone stuff.
Yeah.
So these are the Artificers. So this will be the new subfaction for the Forge Fathers. So you'll get these in like a new faction starter. So you'll get some resin miniatures and then probably some Brockers as well. I think that's the current plan for these ones. So the Artificers, you've got different heads you can use on these.
Marionettes.
And then you've also see they've got that kind of extra arm on their back. And they will be used, they'll be customizable, so you can put different arms with different combinations as well. We've obviously gone third arm crazy because Bracer's got one as well for Dreadball. There's another one there. Simon Warrener says, any news on Reb's Ape Minis from Drevel's Betrayal? Yeah, I think we're looking at the best way, what we do with those ones. Possibly whether we even put them in resin, something like that. So, yeah, we're kind of reviewing some of the models at the minute and seeing what we can do. Obviously, resin is a bit crazy at the minute with all the Armada stuff. So we're just looking at when we can fit things into the schedule and what we do with those. But hopefully we'll have kind of more news in the new year on when all that's coming out. So that's the second Artificer.
He shows that there
then
it
we've
is.
got the currently unnamed Artificer MECH.
He is.
I think Dave currently thinking here is it might be called something like the Jotnar.
This is Cinder Brian.
With Jotun, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is really cool. And on that one, the weapons are all totally interchangeable. And you can use whatever, you can use all the different combinations on that one. A bit of a closer look here. But yeah, I think this is going to be really, really awesome. So that'll be in resin. So all the Artificers are in resin as well. And then finally, I kind of talked about this one earlier on. We've seen that some of the VEER-MYN models have gone across to Kings of War. So things like the Nightmares and some of the other, the Night Terror. And then now we're going to start seeing them move back. So when we do new Ratkin for Kings of War, which we'll be talking a lot more about later on, they will move back into Deadzone, which is cool. So make sure if you want to see more of the Ratkin, because there is one particularly disgusting one, tune in later on 1 PM for that one. So there we go. That is everything that's coming up for, well, not everything. There are, I'm sure there'll be some surprises. There is more stuff coming up, but as you can see, Dreadball really exciting. I think that'll be really cool, and hopefully that will inspire some more tournaments here. And Deadzone, lots of cool stuff. I mean, it's great. I mean, the Matsudan and the Spectra were super popular, which obviously then gives us the confidence to do more. So we'll be hopefully seeing plenty more Deadzone stuff in the future. Now, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, and I will be back in about 10 minutes with a live sculpting session with Luigi. So remember, this stream will stay on all the time, so if you want to stay in the comments. I got direct, actually, Timothy and Andrew are saying, did I shave just for you? And Timothy says, I think I showered. I got dressed, top half, I got dressed just for this occasion.
So waiting to see him stand up.
So we'll be back in 10 minutes on this live stream, with what's going with Luigi doing some live sculpting. So I will see you shortly. Bye bye.
Thank you for everything, Rob. That was awesome.
So you'll have to bear with me where I look at my computer.
So I think I'll do the same thing. I'm going to turn my mic off so I can go take a minute. And I think I'm going to keep going too, and see what happens with the rest of today. Yeah. Alrighty. I wonder if I do. So at this point, I'm not sure what to do next while I wait. I'll do some hobbying. Turn my camera back on. Maybe I'll set up the extra camera. Um, and maybe do some hobby work while I'm sitting here. That could be fun. Something different to do. I do have my stand and everything. I have to figure out a new location for it. I have so much stuff everywhere. But I think what we need is music. If I'm doing live stream, music would be a nice addition, wouldn't it? But we don't want it too loud. Background noise. So I think I will, yeah, set up the other camera. Why not, right? You'll get to see me do all this funky setup stuff at the same time that I'm doing this. Because why not? When you realize that you have not the best setup for streaming, you gotta figure out things. So the last time I put up, I was having issues with sound.
Hello, everyone, and we're back. Hopefully,
welcome back, Rob.
I hope we're back. Let me know in the comments if we are all live and you can see us and you can hear us. So, Luigi, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everybody.
So let me make sure you can hear Luigi as well. I've got my sexy big headphones on now as well, so I can just hear Luigi, and hopefully you can hear him too.
You can see mine. I've got bigger earphones than you.
Okay, it's not a headphone off. Okay, so what we are doing in this bit is Luigi is going to be live sculpting a head, just so you can see the process of kind of what goes into when we sculpt all the different miniatures. So what are you planning to sculpt here then, Luigi?
The plan is having a tyrant head that is laser thing, and I usually don't start from a sphere, but it's just to show how sometimes I work for defining more the concepts, because not every line has very defined concepts. Some of them are quite rough, so allow me to have more freedom in sculpting. And so before going to the finals, I start sketching some base volume to share with the design team, just to check if we're in track. And
yeah, so I suppose what will normally happen is so the studio will come up with an idea of what we want to do, and then Dave and the studio, sometimes if it's goblins, I'll get involved. We'll put together a rough idea, like a description of what we want that miniature to look like. Sometimes it'll include the fluff and that kind of thing.
Yep. And
then we'll put together a fairly comprehensive Word document, maybe with any references, and we'll send that to normally a conceptor, so an illustrator, who will come up with a piece of artwork that looks like it. And then we give that to Luigi, and then Luigi works his magic and starts to do all this sort of thing. So you said you're doing a salamander tyrant here. Yeah,
true. And one thing that I really like is being allowed to put something of my own design in every new line, and because not everything is designed in 2 dimensions works well in 3. So one thing that really changes in the quality of miniature, and it's something we've been talking about with Matt and Dave lately, is having a background. So just a couple of lines that really tell the story about the miniature or the line of warriors I'm working on, because that is something I can really illustrate in what I'm sculpting. So the background is very, very important.
So that could be something like maybe what pose it should be in. Like, so I guess if it's like a heroic model, you want that to be in a heroic pose. Whereas if it's someone quite sneaky, then you want them to kind of be obviously hunched over and kind of hiding, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Or for example, about these big lizards, I was talking about this yesterday night with Dave, about the armor, because I did a previous version of this one with, and you've seen it yesterday.
I've seen it. No one else has seen it yet, Luigi.
Oops. The armor I did was very had a bunch of holes and scratches, and Dave told me that wasn't right, because that kind of race was a bit more fancy, some more refined armors. So I had to change the design to show a more evolved society.
Yeah.
Despite these are all, hyper-violent lizards that break their enemies' limbs off. But
so we've got one question here, Luigi. Have you got any kind of reference on another screen, or are you just kind of doing this from your imagination, I guess?
I always work with references. I have 2 main kinds of references, basically. One is about real life lizards, basically.
Oh, I like him with the big googly eyes like that. You should leave those on. That's amazing.
A bit more Muppet style. So, for example, for the skin or teeth, stuff like that, because they obviously need to resemble real lizards somehow. And on another window, I have the concepts, because I need a concept every time. This it really shortens the working times, because there is all a part of design that needs to be nailed with concept art first. And I have to say that we have some really, really talented concept artists that are managed to represent the essence of the miniature, and so they make my work really, really easier.
Yeah. So when you were doing things like the ratkin, which obviously we'll be showing off a bit later on, were you looking at lots of pictures of like real rats and going, okay, well, this is what their nose looks like, this is kind of what their bodies sort of look like, I guess?
Yes, exactly. For example, tails, or the fur, or the really pink, small clothes. And every time I do that, my wife or my daughter pass through the screen and say, "Ew, that's horrible. What are you doing?" Because it's always. I've seen a full documentary on History Channel about snakes lately, just to understand something about their anatomy and skins and stuff like that. So I'm making myself a culture in reptiles.
No.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting with the research thing, because I am terrified of frogs. And when we were doing research for the some of the Vanguard stuff, like the Dam Buster, I was looking at information about frogs, and it was bringing up loads of pictures, and I actually felt physically sick. So you haven't had anything that's made you obviously feel sick, I guess, at the minute.
Yeah, it's the same for me with spiders. I had them really. So
okay, we better not do a spider faction then. For
no, please.
Okay. Well, I'll make a note. Jerry asks, are you told what material the final miniatures are going to be in, and does that affect how the piece is sculpted? Yes, and that is something I've been learning through the years, because is something you have to check on the final piece. When we go for plastic, for example, the design of the miniature needs to follow some very strict rules about how pieces will be cast. For example, if you have a look